Alors, bonsoir tout le monde.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this regular and public meeting of the Dieppe City Council on October the 12th. No special announcement to be made. We will proceed with the opening word. Dear colleagues, let's have the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, the wisdom to know the difference. So the meeting is called to order. We have one counselor who's in virtual, Monsieur Lantin. Good evening, sir. Good evening. So we have a quorum, of course, with everyone present. Any conflict of interest to be declared by the counselors? No, none. Is there any at this time? No. So we will simply continue with the adoption of the agenda. It's moved by Mrs. Turgeon, seconded by Councillor Godet. On the question, no question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Carried as presented. Presentation, presentation, inquiries, and petition. Item 7.1, inquiries by the council members for the Kodiak Regional RCMP. Monsieur Fortin, if I'm not mistaken, is with us tonight. Mr. Fortin, good evening. Oh,
Monsieur Fortin, bonsoir.
Monsieur Fortin, good evening. Can you hear me? Yes, we hear you now.
Oui, est-ce qu'il y a des questions de la part des membres du
Any
conseil?
questions from the councillors for Sergeant Fortin? Mrs. Leboutier. Yes, Your Worship. It's to try as to increase the presence of the police force on Pascal and Chartersville streets. In the last few weeks, I've received a lot of calls, complaints from citizens who are complaining about the speed. They even increased the speed. Would it be possible? I would appreciate very much. Yes, certainly. I will give it to the police in uniform, and certainly we'll look into it. Thank you. Anything else from the councillors? I don't see any. This being said, Monsieur Fortin, do you have any announcement or something to say? Any words of wisdom? No words of wisdom? Nothing special. I, I have nothing special to announce this week. Okay, fine. We thank you for being with us. You're welcome to remain online, but I'm convinced you won't have any problems to find something else to do tonight. No, I have something else. Less interesting, but I have something else. Good evening and see you next time. Thank you. Thank you. 7.2, presentation pilot project on demand public transit. Talking about a demand. Mike, Monsieur Richard, please. Good evening. Welcome. Thank you, worship members of council. So we come back to you with the pilot project transit in demand. You have a recommendation tonight that is asked of you. In light of that, we thought that it might be good to make give a summary for the people who are listening and who could understand what you have in front of you. That's why we're here tonight. The last time we came to see you, we mentioned that we had alternatives. Uh, we thought of coming back with the fixed itinerary 93. Those were the data that we had that showed that 60, 65% of the demands were for the itinerary 93. And we were talking about changing some buses by vans. That's what we did for the Sunday. It's working very good. We were talking about enlarging the territory that is being served. For those who know, some areas of Dieppe don't doesn't have the same level of service, and some buses cannot enter into some street. That's something else we're looking at, and possibly to increase the number of hours on Sunday. We saw with the demand, a lot of people were asking for services outside of 10:30 to 3:30. Those were all things we wanted to study. Finally, we're talking about exploring to replace fixed itinerary sometime during the week. We were studying all that tonight. We're telling you where we're at and what we're proposing. So to bring everybody in context as to where we are today, the transit on demand right now is only available and offered on weekends, Saturday and Sunday. That means that Saturday, Sunday, the 93, 94, 95 doesn't exist for the weekend. On the week, during the week, yes. On Saturday, the service goes from 63 to 9:30 at night. Now it's offered by two buses, big bus, 40 feet, and one van that service from 7 in the morning to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. For Sunday, we only have one van, and it offers the service from 10:30 to 5 o'clock. And now Saturday and Sunday on the Dieppe network, it's free for everybody. That's what's happening right now. What we're proposing is from November the 8th. That happens to be a Monday. The reason we say November the 8th is that Kodiak Transit, there's 3 or 4 times in the year where they make changes for bus drivers who apply for certain itinerary. While there's a network where people can change itinerary or route, what we're proposing is of November the 8th. What it means for us, it would uh, uh, come into effect on November the 13th, really. We're talking about a combination of fixed itinerary and on demand. What it means for Saturday, what we mentioned, the majority of demand we have on Saturday are for clients along the 93 line. We talking about coming back with a fixed line 93 on Saturday. We'll have one that will go on 93 every 30 minutes, every 30 minutes. What the condition of the traffic will probably play a role, but we're proposing to maintain the transit on demand for the balance of the territory. And we would do it with one or two taxi bus that we have, the six passenger van. We had success with what we tried on Sunday, and with what we have, we can meet the capacity that is making the demand. That's what we have for Saturday, Sunday from 6:30 to 9:30 at night. Saturday, that's a Saturday, and Sunday we maintain the present status quo for transit on demand. It means from 10:30 to 6:30 at night with one of our van mini bus. That's what we're proposing. It's free service for the client. That doesn't change. So whether we be with on-demand transit, it will not change. And also what we are proposing, and if there's a slight change with what you had at first, what we are proposing from Monday to Friday, from 9:30 to 9:30 at night, is the possibility of a gradual addition with our vans and also the elimination of line 9495. We want to analyze it more. We want to do it immediately before we venture there. But it's something we want to consider for the future. It would not be immediately from November the 8th, something we're analyzing. There's two reasons. Be- If ever we pursue the transit on demand elsewhere, that we have a good transition that will be made for the time being. We will have a bus that will follow a line 94, 95 as it is right now during the week. Nothing will change. Gradually, we could add a transit on demand with a van, and this comes later. But then we would be able to serve certain region that is not being served right now. That's the advantage with a small vehicle. That's what we're proposing for the time being. And once again, the transit on demand remain free for the people. That's what we're proposing. The benefits, and I'll finish with this, the return of regular service, Champlain sector. A lot of people don't like the concept. They prefer to go to a bus stop, and have the service there. Well, we want to maintain half and half. We offer the on-demand service that, but the majority of the people that use the service, it allow us to maintain direct destination as we have for the transit on demand. Uh, At the present time, there's people even with transit on demand that have to make a correspondence at the corner of IGA and at the corner of Fox Creek. I mean, people who live further, well, Saturday or Sunday, they have to call a bus and make a correspondence with what we're proposing. They won't have to do it because the connection go from Lakeburn directly to Champlain. If they have to go to Champlain or Aquatic Center or elsewhere, we maintain that, and it's an improvement. The service available, well, they're also talk about the Lakeburn, Dover, but the aviation service, that's something we are able to offer a service. Some business have asked us a few years ago. Some people need to go there for work. Right now, there's no uh, common public transportation, so we could meet that demand. That once again bring more people towards the common transit, and the cost of operation costs a lot less with a six passenger van than a big vehicle, and rightfully so, because a small vehicle costs less in fuel. And finally, just to go on, we have a pilot project. What we're asking tonight is to authorize us to pursue the pilot project in 2022 to see how it works. It's relatively new, but it's only been 4 months, 5 months that we've been doing it. We want to expand in 2022 to try and explore and see how it will work out. Pilot project like this in other cities, very seldom that some are under 12 months, most are over. And we were quite aggressive in that case, but we saw a lot of things, but we're proposing to continue, but in a different format. So this is basically the what you have in front of you tonight. I don't know if you have any questions or comments at this time. Question, Mrs. Boudreau. Your worship, for the part where we have the trip on demand and the fix, the 93 at the same time. So it would be free only for on demand transit, but the fixed transit would cost something. That's right. Wouldn't that be a confusion for clients? Well, I say I will take a bus. I'd rather go free on demand rather than use the 93 with a cost attached to it. It's a good observation. We thought about it, but if we come back with the fixed uh, line and the on demand, those who will be fixed will not be access to on demand. On demand will only service those on Champlain. So the transit on demand will be for the people who have an origin that is not within that line. So we'll eliminate the on demand. That's the intention, yes. And one other thing, I see that you're already in the forecast of 2022, but goes till 9:30. But I think of those workers who work in retail stores at the end of mountain that have to make a transfer. Maybe 9:30 is hard to make a transit between cities in 30 minutes. You know that, but at the present time, it's a question of internal capacity. The reason why we don't offer it later, we're trying to deal with that internally and see what it will mean to go till 10, 10:30, 11 o'clock, trying to analyze it to see what it would demand of us. And later this week, if it's the wish of the council, we'll change it. Thank you. Mr. Thibodeau, thank you, Your Worship. You talk about van. And we're talking about the same van that we're using today for taxi bus. The people are not too happy with that. Eh? Shouldn't you change for something else, other kinds of van? Well, we come to you at the next meeting. We have alternative that we found there's possible solutions for vehicles slightly bigger, but not as big as the big buses. We're having discussion. Well, there's something coming up. What I would say for the six passenger van, some people don't like it at all, but some people, since we use it on Sunday, they fully agree with it. Some people say they prefer the six passenger van than the big bus, and it's people who've been using on demand transit for 2 weeks or more. They made that comment. Some don't like it at all, but other adore it because the maxi bus is capable of going in some places where the bus can go much faster. Not because he drives faster, but because it's a smaller vehicle. So we have both sides of the story. Obviously, it's not the wish on the long term of the municipality to offer the service with six passengers. It's temporary with the pilot project. So we wish to come back with some options very shortly. Vehicles bigger than six passengers, but smaller than the big bus to serve our client, our customers. Fine. The drivers are the employees of the city or contractors, employees? Good question. They're not employees of the city. They're employed by. It's a supplier for the city. 5 years ago, we made a tender. We called for tenders, and the business who won that tender uh, of the city is offering the service. All we're doing is we're asking to do some transit on demand other times during the week. So it's the same supplier. Yes. For the wheelchair clients, is there anything available? Any service? Well, it's still a question. These vehicles are not accessible to wheelchair, but as I mentioned previously, for the time being, we have another wheelchair guide supplier who offer services for wheelchair people. Anyone who uses it on the weekend, we can call a wheelchair guide, and we supply a lot. It's the same cost to take the public transit and the adapted transit. There's always that option that could be offered. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Boutier. Thank you. Congratulations. It's what to see there's an evolution, and we're looking at different scenarios to try and adapt ourselves. My question was for Sunday to maintain the status quo. Have you had a lot of requests before 10:30? Not necessarily to go to. 9, but 10 o'clock would be earlier. If we've had a lot, it's too bad that we wait till January when we know we have activities at 10 o'clock in the morning. At 10:30 on Sunday, it's the city in Dieppe, almost everywhere. Was there a lot of demand for that? Well, we've had about 20, maybe close to 30, but we've never made a profound analysis if we had the service, how many would use it? Because people who heard there was a service on Sunday, they started using. Well, they didn't know why there was no bus because it started only at 10:30. We don't know if there's more demand or more needs. We assume there's more demand. It's a question of capacity internal with the supplier. Can he serve that request? Well, we could do it rather sooner than later. If it's the wish of the council, we could go to 10 o'clock. I don't see a problem with that. If you so wish, we could make the request at this time. I think there's a need because some businesses work in the industrial park. There's a rotation of the work shift, and some people use taxi. The other thing we have to consider is for people who have to correspond with other bus in Moncton. The bus in Moncton don't operate before 10:30, so I'm told. So even if we left Champlain at 10, they would have to wait for the correspondent in Moncton. Thank you.
Autre
Thank
question,
you. Anything else from the councillors?
Madame Godbout.
Mrs. Godbout, what are the demands other than those that were asked? What demands have not yet been answered? When we talk about later, the things that will remain. It's a good question. I think that Councillor Boudreau mentioned service after 9:30 for people who work and have to correspond or have to. Councillor Thibodeau mentioned labor and over. They don't necessarily have the same service as the rest of the population. There's the aviation area. As soon as we can fix that, well, we will pretty well have the entirety of everything we have to offer, but we have to offer that with the capacity we have now. Thank you.
Personne d'autre?
No, no one else.
Alors, merci pour la
So thank
présentation.
you for the
C'est satisfaisant de
presentation.
voir
I'm
qu'on
happy
continue
to
à
see that
harceler ce
we
dossier,
are working on that file
regarder les différentes
and
options.
to look at the different options that present
Je suis convaincu
themselves to
qu'on va
us. I'm
entièrement se rendre là où
convinced
on
that
veut.
eventually we will go
Je ne dirai pas plus.
where we intend to go.
Merci
I
beaucoup,
won't
Monsieur
say
Richard.
any more. Thank you, Monsieur Richard.
Alors, on continue avec
So
les
let's continue.
questions du public. Est-ce qu'on a des
Question
questions?
by members of the
Non?
public. Anything from the public?
OK.
No.
Alors, on continue avec l'adoption des
Adoption
procès-verbaux
of the
procès-verbales
minutes.
de la réunion du
The
27
regular council
septembre
meeting
et approbation des conseillères
on
modifiées
September the
par le
23rd.
président.
Move and
Sur la question,
seconded. For the question.
aucune question. Alors, ce sont
No
les
question.
minutes
All those in
qui
favor
sont
say aye.
ou de l'avis contraire par un vote.
Contrary minded nay.
Alors, le procès-verbal de la réunion
So
du
the
27
minute
septembre
for the meeting of September 27 is
Alors,
adopted as presented.
10.1, développement
10.1
communautaire et performance
community
municipale.
and municipal
Sur
performance
le
public transit
10.1.1, le transport en
10.1.1
commun, je pense qu'on
public
alors
transit program.
c'est pas le même sujet.
It's
Alors,
not the same
Monsieur Melançon.
subject. Mr. Menoso. Thank you, worship. Good evening, everyone. So first file the city had implemented before the pandemic uh, for youth 18 years of age or under. We've had a good success. More than 500, 523 youth registered this to have free service. The pandemic changed certain elements, but with the success that we had at that time, the staff and the service for public transit asking us to bring it back for the year 2022. And that's the recommendation for tonight. I have public transit that target the 18 years of age and younger for the reading of the Mrs. Boudreau.
Merci, Monsieur le maire.
Thank you, Your
Que le
Worship.
Conseil
That
autorise
council
à compter
authorized
de
that
2022
beginning in
à
2022,
recommencer le service
public
de transport en
transit
commun
service be
gratuit
free
aux
of
résidents
charge
âgés de
for
18 ans ou
residents
moins
age
avec un
18
laissez-passer
year old
officiel de
or
ville
younger with the city of
satisfait
Dieppe
de la
official
Constitution
pass
par
following
la
their enrollment
municipalité.
in the
Qui est pour?
municipality's program. I so move. Moved by Councillor Boudreau, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau. Other question,
Question, Madame Godbout.
Mrs. Godbout. Thank you.
Je vais commencer par dire que je suis en faveur de la résolution
I will say I'm in
proposée par
favor
l'initiative.
of the
Pour
motion.
citoyens, le
It's
conseiller est
nice
allé
that the
plus
city
loin en
considered to
disant
go
qu'il
one
faudrait
step
encourager l'utilisation
further.
du
We
réseau
want to
par les
encourage the
familles,
use of the network by the
les
family
parents enfants en bas
and
âge, etc., créer des
maybe
associations
establish a
de
relationship,
familles-parents.
parents, children
Je serais peut-être pas
of a
unanime
certain age.
pour
Maybe it would be
établir
one more step, maybe the
une
next
nouvelle
step that
politique
we could
familiale
use,
aujourd'hui.
considering the family policy that the city
Jusqu'à
is
jusqu'à
implementing.
18 ans,
If we
les
say
enfants
under
peuvent rester
18 years of age, well,
seuls. Fait que
we agree. A child
faire un
6 years
chemin, mais il faut
of
aussi que les
age
parents avec
does
l'expérience
not
soient impliqués
travel on his
dans,
own. If
les
the
activités.
parents
Si c'est des
travel with a
familles qui sont plus
young
vulnérables, qui ont besoin de
children,
soutien
well, they're
psychologique,
usually the most vulnerable one. Maybe it could be
je suis
a
en faveur
next
de la
step.
résolution.
I'm in favor of the resolution, but
Mon ami
I would
questionne
like
le
to
conseiller
see if we couldn't
merci
go
pour vos
one step
commentaires.
further.
Merci.
Thank you
Vos commentaires seront
for your
certainement en
comments. Was
considération
certainly considered.
par la victime. C'est pour ceux qui n'ont jamais entendu, je doute, là, mais on vise d'avoir un service communautaire
We aim to have a
qui ne coûte
community
rien
service that costs
aux
nothing
citoyens qui
to
peuvent
our
simplement
citizens so
aller à
that they can
Champlain, faire un
go from
transfert
Champlain,
et
make a
revenir.
transfer,
C'est
and
ça qui est le rêve, c'est ça qui est
that's the
l'objectif.
dream, that's the objective.
J'ose
So
espérer que nous
I like to
y
hope
arriverons
that we
plus
will
tôt que plus tard.
reach it
Merci pour les
sooner
commentaires.
rather than later. But thank you for
Autre
the
question?
comments. Something
Si
else.
ce n'est pas
If not, all
favorable,
those in
c'est
favor,
oui.
say aye.
Avis contraire par un autre.
Country-minded, nay.
La résolution est adoptée telle qu'elle est
Carried
présentée.
as
Ce qui nous
presented.
amène
That
au
brings us to
10.1.2. Monsieur Melançon.
10.1.2, Monsieur Mélenchon.
Celui-ci, c'est peut-être
So this
pas
one
Luc
is
qui
what
va
Monsieur Richard
présenter
or Luc
ce
presented to
pilote.
you
Alors,
about the
je
pilot
pense
project. I
que
won't
tout
add
a
to his
été
comment.
dit et
Everything has been said. An excellent
cela
presentation.
semble
It's for your consideration on with the
valider
resolution.
la
For the
résolution.
reading of the
Madame Melançon.
resolution, Mrs. Laboutier, that council accept to extend the on-demand transit service until December 31st, 2022. Authorize the administration to explore the addition of on-demand from Monday to Friday, except to defend the on-demand transit to serve the Dover Lakeburn Aviation Boulevard and authorize the use of vehicles smaller than the city bus. So move.
Présenté par la conseillère
Moved by
Godbout,
Councillor Dier, seconded by Councillor Brideau on the question.
question, Madame Godbout.
Mrs. Goodbow,
Deux questions. Une
two questions.
clarification.
One,
François
it's an
me répète que
explanation. I don't know if I'm
dans
repeating
la
myself,
réponse
but
que vous avez donnée auparavant. Ça a à faire avec les
it
employés
has to
ou
do with
les
the
employés
employees
qui vont livrer les services, les fourgonnettes, plutôt que
that
les télécommandes, là, etc., plutôt que
render the service on demand or
c'est le même
Kodiak.
fournisseur, mais est-ce qu'on
It's
parle
the
aussi
same
des
supplier,
employés qui
but
sont
are we
des membres de
talking with
l'union,
employees that are members of the
qui sont des
union,
membres de
or
l'employé?
is
Qu'est-ce que
there a
ça veut dire
different
employé?
classification of
Et puis l'autre
employees? They're
question,
not the same employees. It's another
ceux
supplier.
qui conduisent les fourgonnettes plutôt que les gens qui
People
sont
who
dans
drive the
la
fan and
répartition,
those
c'est quoi la
who
différence
work
entre les
for
deux?
Kodiak Transit, there's a difference. Yes, the taxi bus that we presently have that offer service Lakeburn and Dover, that's a supplier that will be asked to play a role in our
C'est pas la même
service,
chose qu'un
but
employé
not the same thing as an
Deuxième
employee
question,
of
je veux comprendre
Kodiak.
l'administration.
That comes to my
Quel est
second
l'impact
question.
sur
What
le
is the
partenariat ou
impact
l'implication
on the
collectivité?
partnership or
Qu'est-ce
the
que ça pourrait
inflation
avoir
with
comme impact sur
Kodiak? What could be the impact
nos demandes de services de Kodiak comme tel?
on our demand with Kodiak. Good question. I can tell you since the beginning, Kodiak Transit have been at the table. They cooperated with us. They've given a lot of time in these changes. They made the effort, what it means for us by going after November the 8th. We don't see that Kodiak Transit will be asked to use their vehicle, but within 12 months, we would uh, obtain new vehicles and they could be asked to drive these vehicles for the time being. As of November the 8th, uh, the cardiac transit won't have any transit on demand. It's a reduction of hours of service that we're going to get from cardiac transit. We're transferring these hours towards the taxi, but on short term, of course, there's a reduction. So the impact, that's where we find it. So you'll see with transit come next week, but it's only temporary as for the vehicles that we have. So
Merci. Je pense que pour moi, ça va
thank
être un
you.
enjeu que
I
j'ai
think for
beaucoup
me, that's an
récemment
issue I want to
quand j'ai
understand.
fait
Are
des
we
enlever, enlever des emplois
stealing
systématiques
jobs
pour
or taking
privatiser,
public to
privatiser le
privatize?
service.
Are we
Donc,
privatizing
moi,
a
j'ai
service?
j'ai bien
For
compris que
me, I want to try and understand if it's. I know it's a pilot project, and we're trying something, and I'm in favor of
la
that. But
question donc m'amène
the question
à la
that
suite avec ça, c'est
bring me to follow up
on va
with
donc
this, therefore,
on a donc un service Kodiak qui est un petit
we're
peu plus
offering a service that
réglementé, si tu veux.
Kodiak is more
Dans le fond, il y
regulated,
avait
if you
aussi un
wish,
service sur
while
demande
the
qui
one,
on est dans
the
une
service
zone
on
financière
demand,
un peu moins
we're
réglementée.
in a
Est-ce que
zone with
c'est
a
possible
less
que ce
regulated
service
suppliers. It's fair to
quand
say
un
that
fournisseur disparaît, le service
while the
disparaît?
supplier disappeared, the service disappeared. Yes, we don't even have an agreement in writing. It's part of our buying power. Some are regulated by other regulations, highway or their insurance or something like that. There are requirements for them. There's an agreement that lasted 5 years that will end in May. So we have to analyze the whole situation within our transit agreement, their decision that we will try to make before
Merci.
too
Merci.
long. Thank you.
D'autres questions?
Other question?
Sinon, ceux qui sont en
If
faveur
not,
des
all those in
résolutions,
favor say aye.
oui.
Contrary-minded, nay.
Résolution est adoptée telle que.
Carried as presented.
Monsieur Mélenchon,
Mr.
10.1.
Nelson, 10.1.3. Thank you. You have the strategic plan for 2020-2024. The former council gave its support to what was the content of the strategic plan. As you know, it's a document that belongs to you. You're giving the orientation for the city of Dieppe. So we had an exercise with you on the validation of the key issues that were the strategic plan. We retain your comments that are part and parcel of the reflection that you've noted in the package. We'll look at the population, the territory, the immigration part, and a better place. As for the seniors and green energy within our municipality, we'll make sure that it's an integral part. If it's not there yet of our plan of action, and in the next review after 2024, we'll make sure to integrate them in better report at the end of the elements that you've given us support, that you agree with the strategic plan. And tonight we're asking you to agree with that document so the management can pursue its mandate to
Merci.
implement it.
Sur
Thank
la
you for the reading
résolution.
of the resolution.
Oh, Monsieur Lantaigne.
Monsieur Lantaigne.
Bonsoir, Monsieur Lantaigne.
Good evening, Monsieur Lantaigne. Hello.
Vous avez trouvé le bouton pour lever la main?
You found a button?
Je trouvais pas le bouton, mais
I couldn't
peut-être
find it, but
apparemment que ça marche, ça fonctionne. Donc, merci,
so
Monsieur le maire.
thank you, Your Worship.
Donc, que le
So that council adhere to the 2020-2024 strategic plan and authorize the administration to continue its implementation. I so move. Moved by Councillor Nantang, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau on the question.
Aucune question. Section
No
3A,
question. All those in
proposition numéro 1,
favor
ben oui.
say aye.
Vous avez favorable.
Contrary-minded nay.
Question est adoptée telle que présentée.
Carried as presented.
Ça nous amène maintenant
That
au
brings us to
11.1.
11.1.2,
Arrêté
Your Worship. Sorry.
10.2.1
No,
pour ce qui est
no.
de nomination au Centre national de
10.2.1
la culture. Pour en faire la proposition, Madame Turgeon-Roy.
to read the motion,
Donc,
Madame
que le
Tujorwa,
conseil nomme
that
Maria
council
Teresa
appoint
Guerrero
Maria
Garcia
Teresa
comme
Guerrero
vice-présidente
Garcia on the
superviseur de
board
la
of
culture de
directors
Dieppe
of the
pour un
Dieppe
mandat se
Arts
terminant le 12
and
octobre
Culture Center for a
2024.
term
Je
ending October the
propose.
12th, 2024. So moved by Councillor
Turgeon-Roy, appuyé par
Tujorwa,
Monsieur
seconded by
Brideau sur la
Councillor
question.
Brideau on the question.
Sur la question, Monsieur Thibodeau.
Monsieur Thibodeau on the question. Thank you, Your Worship. I was asking myself when it's a new nomination, shouldn't we have a CV or an explanation of who the person is? What you have included is what the people are asked to fill. Some give more information than others, and what we're asking the people who want to submit their application is through our website. That's the document we received. Should we not ask them to submit a CV? Not that I don't have confidence in the person who applied, but it would be
Probablement quelque
appropriate,
chose qui pourrait être
probably
rapidement
something that could be
discuté
added in
avec
the
Monsieur
procedure.
Jean-Roy, qui a
Mr.
le
Jean
plaisir
Roy, who has the
d'appuyer
pleasure
cette personne-là
of
et qui pourrait
recommending
parler
that person. Maybe you
aussi
can
Oui,
du conseil.
talk
absolument.
to us about her.
Ben, je suis d'accord avec
Yes,
Ernest
I
aussi.
agree with unless also maybe,
Teresa, c'est une
but
ancienne étudiante
Teresa is a
en
former
affaires et
student
marketing
in
au CCMA de
business
Dieppe,
and marketing at the Dieppe and BCC,
qui vient du
a
Mexique
francophone who
et a
comes from
vécu à
Mexico.
Dieppe
She's been living in
plusieurs
Dieppe
siècles
for several
avant
years. She
sa
wants to
communauté.
involve herself in her
Donc,
community.
elle a déjà
So
participé sur un
she's already
projet
participated
ou un
on a
événement avec moi
project or an event
et le
with
directeur
me
des Centres des Arts
and our
sur
team
un
at
projet ou
the
un événement qui a eu
art
lieu
center,
concernant
an
cette
event that
signature
was
d'ici.
held that
Donc,
was
elle
called
connaît un petit peu
Signature
le Centre des Arts
Signature
et
DC.
veut
She
contribuer
knows the art center and she wants to
aussi à entrer
contribute
dans
more.
l'événement
And
aussi.
it's
Donc,
before
qui a
anything else, a business
davantage le goût de contribuer
person
de façon
who wants to
culturelle aussi.
contribute
Elle a des bonnes idées
culturally and
également
artistic.
aussi. Donc,
She has
je
good
pense
ideas.
sincèrement
So
que
I sincerely think that it would be a good way to include her
notre projet
in
aujourd'hui.
our project. Congratulations for the recruitment. We need people like her, but it's simply a question of procedure. Okay,
Merci.
thank
Ça
you,
répond à la
Worship.
question en
That
partie.
answers your question in part, and
Personnel
we'll ask the staff maybe
d'alourdir la procédure pour le futur.
to change it for the
Manque de
future.
vocabulaire, là. C'est toujours il dit alourdir. Là. Manque de vocabulaire.
Lack of
Alors,
vocabulary.
motivé
Okay,
par
so seconded by
recommandation de
recommendation
Madame
of Mrs.
Turgeon-Roy et accompagné
Joshua,
par le
seconded
conseiller
by
Brideau.
Councillor
Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres
Brideau.
questions?
Any other question?
Aucune autre question. Alors,
No
section
other
3B,
question? All those in
proposition numéro
favor,
1, oui.
say aye.
Contrairement,
Contrary
non.
minded, nay.
Question est adoptée telle que présentée.
Carried as presented.
Bon. Et maintenant au
Now,
11.1 pour la
11.1 for the
réglementation,
municipal bylaw,
la
C2,
réglementation pour
relating to the
l'élimination des
collection and
ordures
disposal of
pour la
waste.
lecture
For the reading
de cet arrêté
of
en
this bylaw,
première lecture.
first reading.
Excusez-moi, on est rendu à la lecture sommaire.
Sorry, we're at the
C'est
summary
ça?
reading.
Lecture sommaire.
Yes,
Alors, je
okay.
demanderai au conseiller
I will
Brideau
ask
s'il
Councillor
veut
Brideau.
répondre. Monsieur Brideau?
Monsieur Brideau, Your Worship, the summary bylaw C-2 2021, a bylaw relating to the collection and disposal of waste in the city of Dieppe. Do I read the whole thing? Pursu- Pursuant to the authority vibrated by the Local Governance Act, Chapter 7, 2017, Chapter 18, the city of Dieppe adopt as follows. One definition, two, collect services, a selection of waste, five, commercial and industrial, part six, general, general, seven, implementation, eight, infraction and uh, cancellation. I so move, Your Worship. Thank you.
pour appuyer,
And to support,
Monsieur Godet.
Monsieur Godet,
Merci. Appuyé, proposé par le
moved
conseiller
by Councillor
Prideau, appuyé par le
Prideau,
conseiller
seconded by
Sur la
Councillor Godet.
question,
Other question?
sur la question, Monsieur Thibodeau.
Other question, Monsieur Thibodeau. I just want an explanation, a clarification at number 5.2 that deal with commercial and industrial business. And number two, when we say the owner, the occupant of any commercial or industrial must pick up the garbage that is on its property or any other property in a delay of 24 hours. Can I interpret that to mean pure later who doesn't pick up the
Réponse.
garbage and fly on the neighbor's property? The answer is yes. Okay, thanks.
Alors, autre question,
Other question,
Madame Boudreau.
Merci,
Mrs.
Monsieur le
Boudreau.
maire.
Thank you,
C'est
Worship.
pour exactement le même point. Est-ce
It's
que la
the
même
same
chose peut
thing.
s'appliquer
Can the same
en
thing
regard du
apply? Let's
développement?
say there
On
is
est en
a
train de développer des maisons
we
qui
are
ont
developing buildings,
des
houses,
poubelles portatives.
and we
Est-ce
have
que c'est
portable
des déchets
garbage can.
qui sont
If
responsables
garbage
de
fly in the air,
nettoyer
are they responsible to
les
clean
déchets?
their garbage? Well, there's not supposed to have any garbage
Merci.
flying
C'est
around in a
justement
municipality.
quelque
Well,
chose
thank you,
que les
because
citoyens
that's
m'ont
something
posé,
that citizens
que souvent ils ont
have
des couverts sur
asked me about.
ces poubelles
Sometimes there's
et
no
chez moi et
cover
chez les
on top
voisins
of
et chez
these
les
garbage
voisines.
cans, and
Merci.
the garbage fly all over the place. So it's
Merci.
a problem. Thank
S'il
you.
n'y a pas d'autres questions,
If there's no other
je
question, all those in
résolution par
favor resolution, please say
avis
aye.
contraire par un non.
Contrary minded,
La
nay.
résolution est adoptée en
Carried
troisième.
uh,
Excusez-moi par
on
lecture recevoir et nous allons procéder avec la
summary
troisième
reading
lecture
of
en
summary.
titre
Will
seulement.
proceed with third
Monsieur
reading,
Brideau.
title only. Monsieur Brideau.
Merci, Monsieur le maire.
Your worship.
Arrêté
Bylaw C-2
2021,
2021 reading to the collection and disposal of waste in the city of Dieppe. I so move in third reading. Move it third reading. Third and final by title only.
Brideau qui
Councillor
était
Brideau,
appuyé par
who is
le
supported by
conseiller
Councillor
Godet. Alors,
Godet.
sur la question, on va
On the
voir.
question, once again,
Aucune question.
no
Les questions ont
question.
été répondues. Alors, ceux
All the
qui
questions have been
sont
answered.
d'accord
So
avec
all
la
those in
résolution
favor
par un oui
say aye.
ou de l'avis contraire
Contrary
par un non.
minded, nay.
La résolution est adoptée telle que
Carried
présentée ou
as presented.
l'arrêté est accepté tel que
The
présenté
bylaw
par
is
par la
adopted
lecture.
in third and final
Merci.
reading.
Item numéro 12, avis de
Number 12,
motion. Est-ce que
notice
nous
of
avons
motion.
reçu des avis de
Did
motion?
we receive any notice of motion? No.
Alors, on va procéder à l'item
So
13, demande de
proceed to 13.
renseignement et annonce des membres
Information,
du conseil
inquiries,
municipal.
and announcements from the city
Sûrement, ma
councilors.
première victime
I think
cette
my first
semaine
victim this
est
week
le
is
conseiller Lantaigne.
Councillor Lantang.
Merci, merci de
Thank
faire
you,
de moi
thank
votre
you,
première victime, Monsieur le maire.
to make me your first victim, your
Donc,
worship. So
j'aimerais
I would
vraiment
like,
remercier
first
Monsieur
of all,
Shaw
to
pour l'excellent
congratulate
travail
Monsieur Shaw for the
tout ce
excellent
qui a trait
work that he's doing
au projet pilote.
with the
C'est un travail de
pilot
longue haleine.
project. It's a long
Je suis
term
convaincu que le
project, but I'm
résultat va avoir
convinced
la
that the result
réalisation
will be
esthétique
worthwhile.
auquel
It's
que
a
les
good
citoyens
initiative, and for the citizen
s'attendrait qu'avec
who
un
would
space étoilé
doubt
puis pas d'omelette
and
sans
would be
casser les
frustrated,
eggs,
we
ça
cannot
fait
make
certainement
omelets
plaisir,
without
mais on
breaking
cherche
eggs. It's a
historiquement positif
bit of
là-dedans.
frustration, but I
Donc,
retain
j'ai
positive aspect
remercié
of this
le
for
service,
a better efficiency
un
and
service
service
qui va
wise.
offrir un service
be able to offer the service on the territory. So, in order to give access to greater territory, the, the economy, money wise, and also it's important reduction of ecological fuel use. So, at the end of the line, I'm sure it will be worthwhile. Congratulations, Monsieur Richard, for a job well done. And secondly, as many of you have had the surprise while we were expecting it as to the important increase the tax evaluation, property evaluation. Most counselors like me have heard about it. I receive calls or emails from people who are hoping that we will have some way. People who are asking a reduction of taxes will take the time to look at it and to do the exercise. But it's something that concerns us as counselor, and I'm certainly not the only one. On that, that's about all for me for today. Thank you very much.
Merci, Monsieur Lantin.
Thank you, Monsieur Latin.
Alors, la prochaine personne, Madame Godbout, bonsoir.
Mrs. Goodbull, good evening.
Ça fait quelques semaines assez, un peu tranquille avec
It's
les
been a
événements
few
sur le
quiet
district de
weeks with
COVID. Je pense que
different
les
things that are
activités
happening with COVID.
ont
A
été
lot of
annulées. Ça fait
activities
difficile
were
de trouver quand
canceled.
même des activités
That
pour
being
les
said,
animaux de
there's some
compagnie.
activities that I want to
Ce soir, c'est
update
la
you
journée
on.
annuelle de
Tonight is the
l'association
annual
multiculturelle
meeting
du Grand Moncton.
of
Alors,
the
moi,
Greater
je
Moncton
parle sur le
Multicultural
besoin
Association, MAGMA.
d'accompagnement
I
supplémentaire
hope to have a
pour
report at the
voir
next meeting
comment ça peut venir bénéficier
how
la communauté et les
how
Inuits.
it went on for the first year and
J'ai aussi
how people
entrevue
can
avec
benefit
le
from it.
directeur
I
général de la
communicated
bibliothèque de Dieppe.
with the Dieppe
Récemment, le
Public
documents nécessaires pour
Library
accompagner dans la mise en œuvre de cette
administration, and
cette
you've given me
campagne-là.
a role. And
Seulement vous dire, j'espère
I
avoir
just
d'autres
want to tell you, I
informations
hope
avant
I'll
la
have
fin du
more
le 10
to
novembre
tell you
travailler sur
next
ce
time.
point-là et donc je pourrai
But
le
I've
mettre
had
au niveau
contacts so I
de
can better
de
play the role that the council asked me to play.
Et la dernière chose que je voulais
And
dire
the
aussi,
last thing
c'est
I
que
want to say
Ville a
is
mis
I
son
invite
dispositif
you
et les
to
couleurs d'automne sont en train
travel on the trail. The fall colors are
Merci,
in bloom.
Councilleur
Thank you,
José Turgeon-Roy.
Councillor Jose Turgeon-Roy.
Oh, Monsieur le maire,
Thank you, Your
seulement une
Worship.
annonce
Only
avant.
one
Ce soir,
announcement to
c'est le
make
Centre des
tonight.
arts
The
ensemble
Art Center,
Ville
I'm
de Dieppe
talking about the Dieppe
sont
Art
présentement
and
en
Culture Center,
recrutement pour deux postes
are
de
recruiting for
direction
two
générale de
positions,
section artistique
general
et le détail de l'offre d'emploi sont
direction and
disponibles sur le site
artistic,
Centre
and
des arts
they're available
dieppe.ca. Donc, à qui la chance de travailler dans le cœur de notre belle
on the
ville
Art Center.
avec des rassemblantes, bien
Yep,
sûr,
how
le
to
monde de la culture
work
d'un pas bien.
in a place
Je
that
vous encourage à venir voir cette journée
really
d'emploi et
work
d'essayer
hard.
leur
Go and see that job application and
Merci.
talk about it.
Au revoir.
Thank
Bonne
you. That's
journée.
all for me. Good week.
Merci, Monsieur le conseiller Thibodeau.
Councillor
Merci,
Thibodeau.
Monsieur le maire.
Thank you,
Moi,
Worship.
seulement une
I
question.
only have one question.
Donc, je me rends compte que l'Halloween arrive à grands pas.
I noticed that Halloween is coming
Avez-vous des
fast.
guides
Do we have
pour les
any
enfants
guidelines
ou
from public health
notre comité ici
or from our
de quelle
committee
façon ça va
here
se passer?
how
Est-ce que
things
les enfants
will
vont pouvoir
be
aller de
done?
maison en maison?
Will the children be allowed to go door to door,
Monsieur
house to
Melançon?
house? Mr. Melanson? No, we did not receive any guidelines from public health on that issue. I've seen some emails go by in different municipalities because October the 31st is important for a lot of small Halloweeners, if I can use that word, with the short circuit in our region. We'll ask the question, what is happening for our region, Region 1 especially, and to see what we can plan and especially announce if it's open or not. Uh, we'll do a follow up and we'll let you know. Thank you.
C'est tout, Monsieur le maire.
That's all,
Merci,
Your Worship. Thank you,
Monsieur Brideau.
Monsieur Brideau.
Merci, Monsieur le maire.
Thank you,
Moi,
Worship.
je vais entamer
Well, I will
le sujet que Madame la
follow up
conseillère
on
Boutier
what the
présentait
the
tantôt
question she asked
aux policiers tantôt.
to the police officer earlier.
C'est malheureux de dire,
It's unfortunate to say I received complaints this morning again. I received complaints in my ward about speed. This time, the person who called me, she saw a young person at the wheel who was going above the speed limit. I asked the people, we live in a period where Gaspé Street and College Street is a bypass to the construction on Amiro. We ask you to slow down. It's a zone where people walk a lot on the street. There's a section of Gaspé Street where there's no sidewalk. It starts at Notre Dame to College Street. The street is slightly wider, but people walk on it. So we don't want to wait until there's an accident. The children will be hit. I've applied a pressure on the RCMP to patrol our area and to give tickets. That's the best. That's the tool that they have at the present time. And I've noticed on the weekend, yes, the RCMP were present in the area. I hope it will continue because it's important that we look at the safety of our people. So notice to everybody, slow down. Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Mrs. Woodrow.
Merci,
Thank
Monsieur.
you, Worship.
Je ne vais pas dépasser mon 4 minutes cette fois-ci.
I will
Mais
not
regarde,
go my 4 minutes this time. I have
merci
nothing to add. I want to say
Richard
thank
pour
you to Monsieur
l'invitation.
Richard for the presentation. It was
Après ça,
very
ben, passez une belle semaine.
good and have a good week.
Merci bien, Madame
Thank you,
Gauthier.
Mr. Boutier.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank
J'avais une
you very
question
much.
avant
I
que
would
tu
have a
commences. Il me
question.
semble que j'ai vu ça
I think I've seen
aujourd'hui ou
this
hier
today, yes, or yesterday.
sur le rapport de participation citoyenne
The citizen participation
de
report
notre plan de loisirs.
towards our
Quand est-ce qu'on va recevoir ça?
recreation plan,
Ça va
but on long term, when will it
devoir
be?
comme tel.
When will the
Sommaire
report be
de ça.
presented? The
C'est quand
summary
ça,
of
Alain?
Le
that.
sommaire
When will it be given to the
du rapport de
citizen? Well, the
participation
summary of the
c'est
participation
quel
report
que
is
vous avez
on
mentionné. Donc,
the
on va
site, the
diffuser
Dieppe
la présentation
website.
officielle du rapport
The official presentation of the report will be in November by our
on va
consultant,
prévu
and the
diffuser
date
également les documents
either 8,
dans
15, or
les différentes
22nd. We're trying to finalize the date, but it's in November, so the public
informations de notre
can
consultant.
be present for the presentation by our consultant.
Première étape qu'on a
What
fait
is presented
une bonne partie de l'été au niveau de la
is the
participation.
first part
Si ce n'est
that
pas
of the
encore
consultation. They're not
plus
recommendations from the
par rapport
consultant.
à
They're
ce que
only
on
the
a vu.
report of what they heard and what they observed that we are presenting to the community.
Merci, Gilles.
Thank you.
C'est tout.
That's all?
Monsieur
Yes,
Godet.
Merci
Mr.
beaucoup.
Cadet.
Moi, je
Thank
n'ai
you,
rien
Bishop.
à
I
ajouter
have
aujourd'hui.
nothing for today.
OK. Alors,
Fine. So,
ceci étant dit,
that being said,
pour ne pas
I
alléger le fardeau de tous et chacun,
don't want to
moi, j'ai rien de nouveau
lighten
ajouter non plus.
the burden of
On va
anyone. I have nothing
demander
else to add.
aux
We'll ask
citoyens et
all our
aussi à la
citizens
région, évidemment,
and the citizens of the
d'observer
region to be very
les
aware
conditions de santé, les
of a
conditions
condition of health,
de circulation
condition
dans
of
certains
traveling,
sites
of physical
dans nos
traveling
infrastructures, que ce
in
soit
our
dans la région,
infrastructure
que ce
all
soit
over the region.
les
And as I
situations
said,
aquatiques, pratiquement
there
les
is at the
duplex
aquatic
ont
center
une
and the
très grande
duplex where
circulation.
we have a
On
heavy
demande à tout le monde de préserver
traffic. We ask everybody to
les règles de
follow the
circulation
rules and
pour qu'on puisse
regulations so that
en terminer avec cette étape-là et
we can
voir ce qui
end up
pourra
with
nous
that
donner
step and see
du
what is
futur à long terme.
expecting
Merci,
us
bonne fin de
on
semaine.
long term. Good evening, everyone.